So when EANIIX reached out to me and asked if I wanted to sound design his animated short, honestly I was a little hesitant at first because this is all he had. And there wasn't a whole lot for me to go on, but I decided to go ahead and give it a go. And I'm really glad I did because the end result is just absolutely amazing. If you guys want to see the final video, make sure you head over to EANIIX's page. But he did give me permission to show off some of my sound design techniques, so that's what I want to do here today. Now, first and foremost, I absolutely hate bugs, so this was a little intense for me. But once I got over that, this was actually a lot of fun to work on. And EANIIX did a really great job of keeping the cockroach kind of centered on the screen, which made my job a lot easier. So for the sound of the cockroach, I ended up pulling in some library sounds. And the walking sound is, it's actually a centipede. Because it's a little heavier, a little more meaty, and kind of gives us that like kind of hefty walking sound. So for the flying sounds, that I actually ended up pulling in some dragonfly. His dragonfly wings are a little bit bigger and just kind of helped add to the weight and kind of help bring the cockroach to the forefront as, you know, kind of our main focal point. So the light flickering was honestly probably the most tedious part of this whole process. And that's because there were so many. And in order to get the timing right, I actually had to go in frame by frame and just nudge forward every frame and just drop a marker every time the light would come on. Once I had all 93 of my markers placed, I actually went in, and the sound is real fluorescent light bulbs turning on and flickering. So I chopped them up and got just the individual sound effects, and then I could pull them in. And that's what you see here on the screen. This is just one section, and then there is another section that happens a little later. But once I got all the sound effects in, you know, I'd play them a little bit at a time just to make sure that they sounded right next to each other. And then we went in and added some reverb. And I did this in two sections. So this is one reverb, and then this would be the second. So the first reverb is going to be when you're actually in the hallway, and the second reverb is going to be when you see the hallway in the background. So you can hear how adding all the individual light flickers really kind of helps that immersive level instead of just throwing a light flickering loop over top of that. The radio for this particular scene was actually a lot of fun to pull together. I wanted to kind of help add to the imagery that even though this disaster had taken place inside the facility, there were still things happening on the outside. And so in the communication center, I wanted to add some kind of background radio chatter. And the way I went about doing this was I actually pulled in some recordings from both NASA and a weather announcement. So if I solo these out, you can kind of hear what I'm talking about. And then with the NASA track. And then I just kind of combined this with a lot of like different frequencies and kind of distortion. And then we ended up with our full radio. So something else that kind of helped tie everything together was all the little extra sounds that I got the chance to put in that you might not necessarily hear in real life, but they kind of add dramatic effect. For example, multiple times throughout the video, you'll hear different whooshes as things kind of fly by the camera. And this is just one example of that. So you can kind of hear as the camera pans over the railing, we get that kind of dramatic whoosh. Again, not something that you would hear in everyday life, but it really kind of helps draw that dramatic effect out of that video. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap things up for this week. I know this was a little bit shorter of a video than what I normally put out, but I didn't want to take away from the visual aspect of EANIIX's video. So if you want to check out that full video, make sure you go check out his channel. There's going to be a link to that video down in the description below. If you like what you saw here today and want to see more of it, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Until next time.